Growing, team definitely know when a leader has stopped growing. And when growth stops at the top, everyone feels it. In this episode, we're talking about why leadership development is not optional at any level within the organization. This is a 30. Let's get started. Well, hello there, gang. Welcome to the 30. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. This is the space where meaningful conversation designed to support you, your personal, your professional, and your leadership growth. Of course, the 30 is a production of the Jackman Group, LLC, a training and development firm specializing in leadership development, team enhancement, and organizational strategic planning. It is great to be here once again with you. Thank you so much. If you find this content valuable, please do me a huge favor. Like, share, repost, and also drop me a comment. You can use the chat. Drop me a comment. Would love to hear from you and hear how you are enjoying our content, our weekly content. If you're watching us from YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. It is at the 30 with Patrick on YouTube. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for the opportunity for welcoming us into your space. Tonight, I want to talk about something that people in organizations often feel, even when they don't say it out loud, they're thinking it. You may ask, well, what question is that? How do I know? Well, see, over the years of training and developing leaders and enhancing teams, I've heard this question over and over again, not just once, not twice, not 3 times, but in every leadership development setting that we're in, whether it's training, whether it's coaching, whether it's some of our experiences or seminars, we hear this question. 1 or 2 participants, and maybe more, right? They usually come up to us and ask, is our leader going through this too? Meaning, are their leaders or is their leader going through the same training that they are going through, or have they gone through it? It never fails. It never fails. That question comes up regularly. Probably, I would say 90% of the time. Now, that question may sound simple. It may seem very simplistic. But for me, at times when I have to answer that, sometimes the answer is easy. Yes, they have, or they will be going through the training. Then at times it can become a little bit more challenging because I may know that the leader should be more focused on their own individual development, but they choose not to. They choose to stay away from the training. They choose not to engage in the training, or sometimes they use the excuse. And I'll talk about that coming up here shortly. The question, however, reveals something that's important. And that something is people notice when growth is expected from them, but no longer model at the top levels of leadership within the organization. And that's what we're going to be talking about on this episode. When leaders stop growing, everyone feels it. And that's the topic of today's episode. When leaders stop growing, everyone within the organization feels it. Because one of the quiet dangers in leadership is the belief that once you've reached a certain level, a certain point, have a certain title, you no longer need development. And that's a myth. That is so far from the truth. And I'm going to state my case as we go through this episode. That is a myth of what we call the myth of arrival in leadership. Here's what that means. Sometimes leaders get to a certain point, whether they're at the director level, the VP level, the president, senior president, or senior VP, even the CEO. Sometimes it could be the founder or senior pastor or executive leader. And without saying it directly, the mindset becomes, I've done enough. I've seen enough. I know enough. I've arrived because I have that title. Now, they may never say these exact words. They may never come out and say it openly to their teams. However, their actions start to communicate that. You've heard the saying, action speaks louder than words. So the leader at that level may not say it, but their actions may actually demonstrate it. Sometimes it comes out in excuses that the leaders make. Excuses for not going through the training. Excuses to not developing themselves. Excuses like, and you've heard some of these, this isn't the right time, right? This is not the right time. I'm too busy. I got too many things going on. I really don't have time right now. We don't have the budget to send everyone through, and then for me to also attend or go through some form of professional development. So those are just some of the excuses. Another one is that kind of development is really for my team, but it's not for me. Why? Because I'm a certain level. I've arrived. I have a title, so I don't need that type of training. Or here's another excuse or reason. I've already been through enough training. I don't need any more training. So it's best if my leaders or my teams, but I've had my share of training and development, so I'm all set. In essence, what that person is saying, I've arrived. They're saying at this stage, I know what I need to know. And folks, you will be surprised. You'll be surprised at the number of executives, the number of top leaders who believe in this nonsense. I call it nonsense because none of us have arrived. None of us are at the point where we cannot learn something new. So here's the thing. Sometimes they don't even say it out loud at all, but they live and they love it, right? They live it. They like it. So they may not say it to you. They may say it to me, but they may not say it to their teams. But in essence, they're communicating that. And what happens is that they stop putting themselves in rooms where they can be challenged. So they're living in an isolated world of where their managers or their leaders are being developed, but they're not. So as a result, they remove themselves from the rooms because of the fear of being challenged. or they stop seeking feedback, or they stop investing in their own professional and personal growth. Again, none of us have arrived. We can always learn something new. So if you are that type of leader, if you are a senior leader, if you are an executive leader, you carry the title of an executive leader, here's what I have to say to you. None of us have arrived. We can all learn something. See, the message, if you carry that type of demeanor, if you bring forth those types of excuses or reasons, the message that you're sending to your team is powerful. The message is, folks, is that I'm here and you're there. I don't need anything else. I'm a step above you. So I'm going to send you, I'm going to encourage you, I'm going to mandate that you go to some form of training, but I am good. See, leadership doesn't stop requiring growth just because you reach a title. I'll say that again. Leadership does not stop growth because you reach a title or status or a certain point in your career. What happens is this. The fact is, the higher the level of leadership, the more important growth becomes. Because more people are affected by your blind spots. And we all have blind spots. So the higher that we go in our leadership career, whether you are leading a team of 5 or a team of 50, the higher you grow or go, the more development you need. Because more people are affected by your blind spots. More people are shaped by your decisions. And more people live downstream from your maturity or your lack of maturity. And that's why when leaders stop growing, the impact never stays isolated. It affects everyone. When leaders stop growing, everyone feels it. The reality is this. All of us need to be developed. All of us have a capacity to grow more. So we can't stop growing because teams feel it in all kinds of ways. Those that we have the opportunity to serve, those that we have the opportunity to influence, they feel our lack of growth in all types of ways. They may feel it in the way we communicate, in communication. Things may become less clear to them. We may become less open. And the situation in terms of the relationships between us and our teams may become less healthy. Others may feel it in the way the trust is developed. There may be a lack of trust because when leaders are no longer teachable, the culture often becomes less safe for honesty because we feel threatened. See, they may feel, our teams may feel it in the morale. The organization may feel it in the morale. Because it's hard to stay energized in an environment where growth is expected from everyone else, but not embraced by the leader or senior leaders. And they definitely feel it in performance because stagnant leadership eventually creates a stagnant culture. I'll say that again. Stagnant leadership eventually creates a stagnant culture. This is why the question is our leader going through this? Have they gone through the class? Matters so much. Because what your teams, whether it's downstream team, whether it's your team of leaders, wherever they are within the organization. Because if what they're really asking is growth truly part of this culture? Or is it only for some? So you as the leader, you have to answer that, because you have to model what you expect from your team. It's not so much about a team, it's also about you. See, culture doesn't start from the bottom. Culture starts from the top. So the culture of leading, the culture of growing, the culture of development has to start and model from the top, from you, the leader. And people can tell the difference in how they're feeling, the difference in your reaction to them, the difference in the culture within the organization. So the question becomes, what does healthy growth at top levels of leadership actually look like? Let's take a look. It all starts with humility. Humble and healthy leaders understand they are still on their leadership journey. They know experience is valuable, but it's not enough. They know success is meaningful, but it's not final. They know even when your title may expand and your influence may expand, but it does not replace development. So here's some other areas that of continued growth at the top level of leadership. Staying teachable, remain open to challenges, inviting feedback, making time for intentional development. I'll say that again. Making time for intentional development. Yeah, I know. You don't have the time. You're too busy. But what is the impact? When you don't develop you, when you don't set the example of growth and development for your team, what are you saying to your team? And we will get that question all the time when we engage teams, when we train or coach in organizations. That question is, did my leader go through it? Did my leaders go through it? Do they plan to go through the class? Because they need it more than we do. And that's the honest part of it, right? That's what your team members, even your leaders, are saying. They may not say it to you, but they're saying it to us. So I'm saying it to you now. I'm giving you the heads up. You don't take the time to intentionally develop yourself. And lastly, refusing to confuse position with maturity. There's a big difference between position and maturity. See, folks, here's what things looks like. Real growth usually doesn't happen by accident. It happens through intentional environments. It happens through honest conversations. It happens through being around people who help you see what you can't see on your own. That's what it's all about. And that's why we at the Jackman Group, we are so passionate about developing leaders. That's why we are so, sometimes we go above and beyond when it comes to developing leaders. And that's exactly why leadership development at every level is so crucial to us. Not just for your team, but shaping you as a more effective leaders or leader. That's exactly why. That's exactly why we take the time to take our leaders. Our goal is to really to assist you, the leader, your leaders, you and your team of leaders, to assist you in your journey from who you currently are, to who you desire to become. Because once again, none of us have arrived. Because growth should not stop at the title. So you may have the title of CEO, you may have the title of senior VP or president within the organization. You may have the title of senior pastor or mayor or governor. You may have the title of director. You may carry the title, whatever that title is, of executive leadership. You should know that it's not about the title. It's about how can you develop yourself and take you from where you are to where you should be. And we get excited about that when we talk about the Jackman Group. And we do that through some of our leadership programs. We do that through our individual executive coaching or group coaching. We also do it with some of the experiences that we have, or development experiences. One like the MPACT Leaders Spring 2026 Leadership Development Experience. That's in person, and it begins April 14th through May 12th. And I know some of you may make the excuse, wow, that's too long. I can't take the time. I understand that. But you have to ask yourself, is your professional and personal growth and development, how much is it worth to you and your team? Because when leaders stop growing, everyone within the organization feel it. So it's 5 weeks, 1 day per week. That's one Tuesday per week for 5 weeks. And if you can't afford to 1 week off, we have not 1 week, 1 day, 9 to 4. And if you can't take that off to invest in you and your team and invest in your organization, then we have a bigger problem. We have a bigger issue at hand. Because leadership development, developing you, is critical. See, this experience is designed to create intentional space for leaders to grow in clarity, communication, relational intelligence, and leadership maturity. Not because you're behind, because you may have reached the point, the pinnacle of leadership. You might be the top person at your organization, but I'm here to tell you that we all can grow. We all can take a different dimension in order to grow. So it's not that you want to attend because you are behind. You should want to attend in order to sharpen your tools. Because strong leaders understand they still need development. We still need something to help us to get to the next level. We should always be striving to improve, striving to get better. So anyone that I come across that tells me that that they have arrived, that they don't need any more development, guess what? I run as fast away from that person, because that person becomes very dangerous. So I don't engage, I move away. See, the best leaders never assume they're finished growing. Never. they'll always tend to grow. Look at the great leaders. I'm talking about leaders that have tremendous influence, not from power, because there's a difference between power and leadership and influence. Big difference. So as we prepare to wrap up here, as we normally do when we do these sessions, this is called reflection. So I have a question, 3 questions for you as we reflect. And this is for you to reflect on your own journey. Number 1, where in your leadership have you become too comfortable? I'll say that again. Where in your leadership have you become too comfortable? Number 2, where have you started relying more on title than being teachable and teachability? Where have you started relying more on title than teachability? And number 3, what if you led a team? You're probably leading teams now, but let's say that you led a team. You're leading your current team. What message does your growth posture send to the people around you? And the team that you are currently leading, what message does your growth posture, then your intentional need for development and growth, send to the people around you? What message is it sending to your team? So as you reflect on that, I want to thank you for taking the time today. Because when leaders realize it, whether or not leaders realize it, people feel it. When leaders stop growing, everyone around them feels it. They feel when their leader is growing, and they feel it definitely when the leader is not growing. So folks, as we close, I hope this was beneficial to you. Again, if you like the content, go ahead and give us a like, share or repost, and drop a comment in the comment section, or send us an email. Our email is info@jackmangroupllc.com. That email again is info@jackmangroupllc.com. Folks, thank you. I want to thank you for being with us on this journey as we continue to bring relevant information to help you enhance your personal, professional, and leadership journey. Because when leaders are growing, everyone feels it. And the opposite is true. When leaders stay open, humble, and committed to development, everyone benefits. Your teams get stronger, your culture gets healthier, trust gets deeper, results become more sustainable, and everyone wins. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the 30. May God continue to bless you and keep you, and may He wrap His arms around you and your family. We will see you on another episode of the 30. Thank you so much.